Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And here we are, the day after 9/11. And by now, you've had a chance to take all this in and start to see what is happening. I did catch the Days of Noah podcast last night, and I am in full agreement with pretty much everything that he said. He went on for a couple hours, and I'm pretty much in full agreement with everything that he said about the motive, about what happened, if in fact it's true. Now, truth recognizes truth, and Kirk was highly critical of the country that shall not be named in the final weeks leading up to this event. And here's the thing. This is what happens. What happens is that people like Kirk are given a platform until they go off the script. And because he held these grassroots events, the controllers had very little power to turn his switch off, as they say, through channel algorithms, right? People ask me, why don't you do public events? Because you feed right into the possibility that they could take you out if they want to, right? Now, it's okay if you're in the right-left paradigm and you're controlled by these people and you do what they tell you to do. But the minute you go off the script, like Charlie appeared to do in the last 3 weeks, look, I really encourage you to look at the videos of him starting to expose the country that shall not be named. And if that doesn't convince you that this is likely real, the country that shall not be named, there's no benefit to them bringing more heat on them, right? There's no benefit to that in terms of a psyop. That's not part of the strategy. Their strategy is to fly under the radar and be the victim, right? Oh my gosh, the look on Ben Shapiro's face when Charlie went off the script. The mouth opened and Charlie dared to say something critical of the country. Ben Shapiro's eyebrows raised in disbelief like Oscar the Grouch. It was noticeable. It was palpable. He was like, oh, I guess that's it for you. Game over, man. Now, I was not a fan of Kirk leading up to this because I was looking at his older messages. And of course, the hand signals and all the stuff that we look for when we see people who are controlled. And the fact that they don't let anybody through the glass ceiling unless you have already been compromised. The fact that Kirk had already met with Trump, and then all of a sudden he was quiet for a while about everything, about the files and about the country that shall not be named. And then all of a sudden, he started to speak out again. But before that, he was firmly entrenched in the right-left paradigm, which of course just continues to further the deception. But I do believe in redemption, and I believe in good people with good hearts and minds trying to change their views based on the sincerity of wanting to learn the truth. If you haven't figured it out by now, that's how we are on this channel. And sometimes you gotta eat your words. Sometimes you have to go, you know what? Maybe that isn't such a good idea, or maybe I'm wrong about this. And we'll be doing a little bit of that today, because the first video we covered on this, we had no idea that Kirk was speaking out just before this because it was hidden by the mainstream media. But some of you captured these moments because you probably knew. You were like, wow, finally, Kirk's waking up. He's starting to question things. And a lot of you captured these moments, and that is true truth. Now, I believe in good people. I believe in people's heart and mind trying to change their views based on the sincerity of wanting to learn the truth. So if in fact he was changing his views or beginning to, that may have cost him his life. And I could respect a person like that. But this is between him and God at this point. Now, I had to take a hard look at this because I was like, what was the variable that changed in his messaging that could have gotten him killed? And it's obvious. The glaring change is obvious. And it wasn't just one podcast, it was several. There were several tweets. There were things that seemed to suggest he was reversing course. He was again saying that his base wants these Epstein files released. Of course, Trump's going to hate that. Now, let's get into something a little bit more obscure, but profound nonetheless. The Captain Kirk Matrix. Now, Charlie was said to have been shot with a .223 rifle. Look at this. Look at these people. What they do. Look at what they do. It's almost like they can see into my computer. They say he was shot with a .223, which of course is 322 backwards, which was the number of people just watching. Well, guess what? We move on to the other things today. Let me go into the chat. I need to clarify something I suggested from yesterday. And that is this idea that we came up with, or I came up with, for an app to report suspicious activity at a large event. Now, I know it's difficult because I'm throwing a lot of information at you. You're receiving a lot of information. And anytime there's original thought, it can be scary, right? So we came up with an original thought, a way to end all sniper violence forever and ever, right? And a couple of you got a trigger response because you didn't really hear what I was trying to tell you. Because I said we needed a way to report when we see a sniper on a roof, and it needs not to go to 911, 911. It needs to go to the security at the site, not a government database. Now, of course, these things can be hacked, and I understand that. But there's this thing called terms and conditions. And whoever makes the app, if they were to make the app, should put that in the terms and condition that this shall never, ever be used or picked up by anybody outside of the people at the event. The app goes directly to their app on their phone to the security that's at the event, and that's all. And then you can hold them accountable. If the government hacks into it, they can be sued. Now, I understand that government can covertly hack into these things as well without getting caught or plausible deniability or whatever. So if it makes you feel better, instead of an app, instead of technology, every person could be given a phone number on a neck lanyard when they enter these events. Simple. It's just a phone number on a card. Okay? That makes everyone feel better. What's it for? It's to call a hotline that goes to the local security at the event only. So in other words, local security has this earpiece in. Calls start coming in. There's somebody on a roof. They get multiple calls. Okay, thank you. They hang up the phone. Someone else calls. We saw someone on a roof. Okay? So that would end all sniper violence forever, wouldn't it? Why? Now, here's the key. Everybody has to get the phone number. Because if it's that one person, or let's say 20% of the people that enter the event say, I don't want that. I don't want to carry that. Well, it's on a neck lanyard. Put it around your neck. If, 20% of the people say they don't want it, and they actually see something wrong and they try to call 911 instead of, which is not going to solve the problem, right? Because this is about time. This is about, you see someone on a roof, security's notified. They say, Charlie, there's someone on the roof. Let's get you undercover. And it's instant. The person's not even going to get time to crawl to the position to set up their rifle. Look, I'm trying to come up with some solutions, you guys. We can't just complain all the time. So, a phone number, not an app, if that may trigger some people. And I do get it. I'm kind of doing a soft rebuke here, but I do get it. And you're probably right. We don't need more technology. Okay. So this is where I've got to kind of eat my words sometimes and humble myself to understand that maybe you're right. Maybe more technology is not better, but understand my heart's in the right place and I'm trying to solve the problem. Now, you can argue the whole event wasn't real, regardless if it's real or not. This is an act of accountability so that because they're trying to make this complex problem, aren't they? Oh, it's so complex. What do we do about public violence? What do? We don't know what to do. It's so complex. And then they're like, we need government surveillance. That's what's going to do it. We need pre-crime. We need drones flying everywhere. This is their solution. And the problem's not that complex. The problem is as simple as arming people with the ability to contact the right people at the right time for instant resolution. That's the key. And it's a simple problem to fix. That's why I proposed a simple solution. And when the controllers decline the simple solution for a more complex one that involves stealing your rights and privacy, now you can call them out. You can say, you don't need to do all that. Just give everybody a phone number to call. Right? This isn't rocket science, you guys. Sometimes we complicate things when it's super simple to fix them. So, but Casey, someone said the Scrooter's not going to get the app. The Scrooter doesn't need the app. This is about all eyes looking on all the rooftops when they go into an event. Look, don't you want to feel safe when you go into an event? Don't you want to know that when somebody calls the cops that something's going to be done? The quickest way to do that is give everybody a phone number to call. Now, if someone tries to abuse the system or run cover, like by flooding with a bunch of false calls, then you deal with that after the event. That would be called false police reporting, right? So no one would be stupid enough to call from their phone and clog up the system with unnecessary reports. So it's kind of self-managed, if you will. Now, so how is that going to stop a Scrooter? Well, guess what? Let's say you're a sniper. They bank on the element of surprise. They bank on anonymity. They bank on inefficiency in the police reporting system, which is exactly what happened in this instance. They saw the guy on the roof before it even happened, long before it happened. But the person who videotaped the person on the roof had no way of getting to security to warn them, right? So if they had a hotline to call, boom, goes right into the ear of security. Hey, we're over at the such building. There's a guy on the roof. Boom. Come on, Charlie, get over here. There's someone on the roof. He would have never died, right? Am I right or wrong, you guys? Am I right or wrong? And no Scrooter in their right mind, knowing that there's this kind of mechanism in place to triangulate them, is ever going to step on a roof again, because they would be surrounded pretty much instantly or identified instantly. Now, others of you suggested drones as a standard for these kinds of large public events. But again, drones can be hacked by the government, can't they? Apps can as well. So now what I don't understand is everybody's already using apps. So you use apps to play games. You use apps on your phone. An app to call in and report something. I don't understand where a lot of that pushback came, but I guess I can understand part of it. But anyway, again, if all this happened, look, I'm not here, and this is where I'm in full agreement with Days of No on this. Us arguing about whether it happened or not doesn't solve anything. That's exactly what they want us to play into. Think about it. Look at what happened to the truth community again. You've now got people fighting over if it was real or not. And to me, that's just a rabbit hole you go down and you never come out of. Because none of us were there and actually saw it. And even if there was someone there, someone could just say they were a plant and not believe them either. We have to look at what the result of it was, how to solve the problem without infringing on our rights, what the motive, why someone would do this. Those are the things that matter, right? So just some clarification on that. And what else? Now, YouTube has finally acknowledged that just days before the Kirk event, on September 9th, they started doing this weird phenomenon where they were delaying the process of people's live shows, the processing of the live shows. I still have shows from yesterday and the day before that aren't even done processing yet. And this is why you won't be able to see the live chats on them. This is why you won't be able to see the transcript on the live shows for the last couple of days. It is now a public complaint against YouTube. They know there's an issue. But the thing that has me puzzled is the timing of all this. It's almost like they knew the event was going to happen. And they always have technical issues right before Blind 11. Now, many of us have been watching the Blind 11 event for a decade or more, waiting for something to happen every Blind 11. And I guess it finally happened. Now, let's move on from that, because today we're going to delve into more clues that reveal the agenda from way back in Trump's first presidency, when he was already marrying up with the tech billionaires and he was already stoking the crime wave. How did he do it? Well, Trump literally signed into a bill to release tens of thousands of violent criminals out of jail. This was in 2020. Yes, Trump was responsible for releasing many of the very violent criminals that he is now claiming to go after. Drug traffickers, federal drug traffickers were let out of prison under Trump. Now, it's going to be hard for some people to believe, but I'm going to show you proof of this. Now, at the time, we did a video on it back in 2020 when we were locked down. I remember this specifically. And I said, why is Trump letting these people out of jail while we're all locked down? And I told you that it was about chaos. Remember this? And now, years later, we are seeing the fruit of this chaos. Now, why? Why would he do that? Well, it's obvious. So his tech brothers can solve the problem during his second presidency, which is happening right now. As Trump's sweeping through major American cities, they're testing out all their new AI gadgets. They're testing out their Project Gotham software. They're testing out the software that Palantir gave to ICE to identify and track illegals. They're testing out their drones. They're testing out their facial recognition and their surveillance. I hope you're awake. Now we're going to get into how Trump became part of the very crime problem that he's claiming to solve a little bit later in the show. But first, remember the creepy statement that Trump made in the birthday letter at Epstein? He said, "Enigmas never age." And one of you saw that the word enigma scrambles to the word gamine. We call this an anagram. An anagram is when you take a word and you scramble it and it forms another word. Gamine. And what does a gamine mean? It's a prepubescent girl. Enigmas never age. Gamines never age. Now, one of you noticed this, and if you're the person who noticed this, put your name in the chat or in the comments so that we know who you are if you want credit for this. Now, when you do a search for, I think I used the word Trump gamine is what I searched for. It literally debunks it as unrelated to Trump and a conspiracy theory. And it says Trump never uses anagrams. Well, Trump never used an anagram, but guess who did? Do you remember Navarro? Do you remember Navarro? Well, let's take a look, you guys. White House advisor Peter Navarro calls fictional alter ego an inside joke. Publishing company plans to add an advisory note to future copies of a book written by White House advisor Peter Navarro, after it was revealed that Navarro fabricated one of the people he quoted. The character Ron Vera appears in Navarro's 2011 book, Death by China, offering dire warnings about Chinese imports. Only the Chinese can turn a leather sofa into an acid bath, a baby crib into a lethal weapon, and a cell phone battery into a heart-piercing shrapnel, Vera quoted as saying. But while the book is not supposed to be fiction, Vera is a made-up character. Ron Vera is an anagram for Navarro. Busted. Trump's advisor. So now we know that anagrams are no stranger to the White House. Now here's where things go off the rails. Because, let's go back to this GAMINE thing. The very person who epitomizes the ultimate GAMINE young girl was Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn of Breakfast at Tiffany's, which of course is next door to Trump Tower. In fact, Trump named his own daughter Tiffany. Was the ageless enigma, was it about an ageless GAMINE? Now, this FF thing is interesting. Tiffany's, Biff, Back to the Future, agelessness, timelessness, time travel. Yes, the makers of Back to the Future said that Biff was fashioned after Trump when he was still a millionaire, not a billionaire. And then there's the scene in Quantum Leap that was set on Trump's mother's birthday. Let's take a look. Here's Breakfast at Tiffany's, filmed at Tiffany's next to Trump Tower. Here are the images. Quantum Leap. Trump appears in the episode as a boy in the back seat with his father, Fred, 12 years old, in this Quantum Leap episode that is set on Trump's mother's birthday, literally, May 10th, 1958. And the conversation they're having in the back of the cab is Tiffany's. Fred Trump talks about Tiffany's. Now, this particular scene is a spoof with this guy, the comedian, but the actual footage, let's see if they even show it here. Oh, here, look, here's the May 10th, 1958. This is literally a screenshot from the episode, Trump's mother's birthday. Wow, and see that what they've done is they've kind of copyrighted this to where you can't even find images of it anymore, but it is a real episode. That's another scene from the episode. Let's see if we can find this. You guys can see Fred Trump in the back. Wow. The dead internet, right? Now, anybody can go back and watch this episode and you'll see that what I'm saying is true. But what is behind Tiff and Biff and all this? Well, it's the FF. It's the fast forward. FF66. It's twinning, it's cloning, it's time travel, which is twinning and cloning. Jumping in bodies down through time, clones of one another. FF. This is why Trump named his penthouse floor, or numbered his penthouse floor 66, the 66th floor. He's probably an old demon hopping down through a cloned body, the Gemini president. And this is how these people get rich too, because they have the knowledge, they control the monetary system, they have accumulated wealth over generations, This is how they get rich. Sometimes they hide their wealth and pretend like they're poor. Other times they're flashy about it. Whoa. Now, let me go back in here. We'll hop off of that. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Now, how did Trump pump up the crime in 2020 while you and I were all locked down? Now, some people are going to get triggered by this, but it is the truth. Trump says, I don't have anything to repent of. Well, here's one of thousands of things that I could say. Well, you're going to read the story. All right, let's see if we can find this. This was called the First Step Act, signed by Trump. So far, 52,000 inmates have been released. These are federal inmates through the First Step Act that was signed by Trump in 2018. Wow. And ironically, Fox News covered it in 2019. Violent criminals and sex offenders released early due to the First Step Act legislation that Trump signed. Made no sense at the time, but now makes all the sense in the world as to why this happened. Now, at this time, it says more than 100 violent criminals, but as we just saw, the First Step Act released 52,000. More than 100 violent criminals and sex offenders have been released under the First Step Act, President Trump's signature bipartisan criminal justice reform package. According to the data from the administration official provided to Fox News on Monday. You can't hide behind this, President Trump. You released violent criminals. Let's keep reading. The data first obtained by Tucker Carlson. See, this is why Tucker Carlson got kicked out. And believe it or not, once Charlie Kirk started hanging out with Tucker Carlson, they were both criticizing the country that shall not be named. Now, I'm not a huge Tucker Carlson fan either. I believe he is probably controlled opposition as well. But, maybe they're both trying to flip the script. I don't know. Let's keep reading here. Seemingly contradicted promises from lawmakers in the White House that the legislation would largely affect only prisoners sentenced for minor drug offenses. Of the 2,243 inmates released under the First Step Act, only 960 were incarcerated for drug-related offenses. Now remember, a federal drug crime means they're a drug trafficker, typically. Federal crime is a lot more serious. On the other hand, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see this. Unbelievable. Let's see here. On the other hand, 496 were in prison for weapons, explosive-related crimes, 239 for sex offenses, 178 for fraud, bribery, extortion, 118 for burglary, larceny, 106 for robbery, according to the data. 59 had homicide, aggravated assault, 46 immigration-related offenses. So he literally let people out who were illegals. So why is he rounding them up now? 9 for counterfeit. Now, understand these numbers are now way higher because this was back in 2019 when this was reported. Now we're talking tens of thousands. In all, 2,023 inmates were male, 211 were female, 1,017 of the 2,243 inmates are black. So all these black criminals he's talking about wanting to go after in Chicago, he's the one that let them out. The worst of the worst. Wonder how many of these were from Chicago. Justice Department announced last Friday that 3,100 federal inmates were being released as part of the First Step Act, which has been heralded by Senator Cory Booker as a start to righting a broken criminal justice system. that has disproportionately harmed communities of color. Wow. Pure chaos. This was right before the pandemic. It's like they knew. It's like they knew. Not to mention all the violent crime offenders that Trump has pardoned. Oh, the irony. Now, let me check in with you. I'm going to get your guys' thoughts, and then we're going to get into an update on Elon Musk's black eye. Some new things have come to light. Try to say his son punched him or something. Well, there's more to the story on that too. Then we're going to talk about tariffs and a few other stories before we end the show today. Wow. Yeah, everyone hit the thumbs up button. It forces YouTube to share this live show into the algorithms so that more people can see the truth. You literally, the truth is in your hands. If you don't share this video, no one else will see it except us. So please hit the thumbs up to help do that. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on this? The real question, what badge wearing connected or lawyer judge because they are all cahoots? Okay, I don't really understand that comment. I'm sorry. Yes, Trump and the fallen angels. I believe that. Absolutely. Has to be. All the dots seem to connect. Yes, very sad. I agree, Gwendolyn. Gas in Washington jumped 20 cents overnight. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the tariffs and the pain that you and I are feeling at the gas pump. When we go to the grocery store, beef is through the roof, gas through the roof, and goods that you purchase online or go to the store are through the roof. But we'll get into that a little bit later in the show today. UK is giving 5 years rent to illegals. Wow. They're saying they caught the person supposedly responsible. Oh, really? Let's take a look. Thanks you for that. Let's see here. I know they had him on camera, but I didn't know if he was caught. Oh, Trump says that. Wow. Trump says he's in custody. Here we go. Let's take a look.
Hubbub of activity in that building. You've seen law enforcement go out in teams to canvass the nearby neighborhood of where the suspect was seen fleeing to. TMZ releasing that video last night of the suspect in the minutes, about 8 minutes prior to the shooting, ended up walking towards the campus there. He was seen in that video limping, possibly with the weapon in his pants.
That's because they showed him jumping off of a roof. He jumped off of it looked far, so that's probably why he was limping. Let's keep listening here.
Ends up carrying out the assassination, leaps off that building. That's the video that police released during that news conference last night. And it's pretty calculated. It seems like this guy had scoped out this particular building because he knew how exactly to leave off of it. And when he left off of it, there didn't seem any injury because the TMZ video then shows him running towards a construction site without any problems. But then the question is where does he go from there? Right? Did he get in a vehicle and take off on Interstate 15? Did he take some other mode of transportation? Those are all questions we're waiting to see.
Yeah, and to your point, there certainly appears at this early stage to have been a high level of premeditation and planning. Andres Gutierrez is there in Orem, Utah, as we stand by for an update from the FBI any moment now. Thank you for that, Andres. Brian Botig joins us once again on the phone. He's a former assistant director at the FBI. And Brian, I'm curious, what are the top questions on your mind as we approach this press conference and digest the news from President Trump that a suspect in the assassination?
Now, understand, I was just sent a video. Oh, my gosh. With another angle. An angle from the right side of Charlie Kirk. And it almost appears you can see the back of his head. Something happened. I wish I could show this to you guys right now. It's almost as if it goes in through the neck and the upper back part of the head, that trajectory doesn't match a guy on a roof. Now, understand there is a lot of AI video out there, and that's why I can't confirm what I'm looking at right now. But there is a lot of AI disinformation out there. Okay, so you got to be careful what you share. There's actually a video they're claiming is the Scrooter saying that he did this for Civil War, and that's a fake. It's AI. But have you guys seen the perspective of the right back side of his face, of his head on the right side? There was someone that had cell phone camera footage, and you can see the crowd in the background, but it's from the right rear, and it almost appears as though it comes from the upper part and behind him. Again, a trajectory from a rooftop opposite him would go down through his chest and through his back, right? Because it's an elevated position. It wouldn't come out the top of his head if it hit him in the neck, would it? It would not come out of the top of his head. But yet, you see some kind of explosion out of the top back of his head. That's what I'm looking at right here. Now, let's see here. If you want to look at this video, I believe it was posted by Gina Jennifer on Facebook. Jena Jennifer. And that's where I'm seeing this posted. So there's video there if you want to check that out. And again, I'm not going to speak too much more on it until I can confirm it's not AI generated. But yes, it is a whole new perspective. And I saw this earlier and I couldn't find any other video of it. But it appears to be someone's cell phone footage from the other side. Because all we're getting right now is cell phone footage from the front and Charlie Kirk's left side. No one was really able to capture the right side from his perspective. So we're going to see how all this shakes out. But they're saying they caught this guy. Let's read this. President Trump said on Fox News Friday morning that a suspect in the deadly shooting is in custody. And they're going to brief the public here pretty soon. Wow. So I wonder if it's the guy that they've got that on video camera. So this is where everyone's going to be briefed pretty soon about this. Wow. Unbelievable. Crazy world we live in, you guys. Now, let's talk about Musk's black eye. Cryptic tweets over the White House brawl, they're saying. Elon Musk resurfaced the saga of his Oval Office black eye by commenting on a report that the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had threatened to beat up an administration rival. Politico reported on tense exchange at the executive branch, a members-only MAGA clubhouse in D.C., where witnesses allege Bessent confronted housing czar Bill Pulte, saying he was going to punch him in the effing face. The secretary then proposed taking it outside so he could effing beat Pulte's A before they were separated. Hours after the report was published, Musk posted a link to the article to his followers. Musk's three-letter post is notable because he was involved in previous headline-grabbing altercation with Bessent, this one inside the White House with the pair's blow up over an IRS appointment earlier this year. Reports at the time said the dispute turned physical, though the White House downplayed it as healthy disagreements. Wow. Former Trump advisor Steve Bannon told the Post that Musk had rammed his shoulder into Bessent's ribs like a rugby player during the altercation, and that Bessent had hit back. Days later, Musk appeared in the office with a visible black eye that he said came from playful roughhousing with his 5-year-old son. Besant later denied giving Musk the black eye, so there's the update on that. Now, let's finish up today's show with these tariffs. It's very clear by now to most Americans that we are paying more for nearly everything because of the tariffs. Yet, Trump has yet to figure out a way to make us all whole again. Apparently, the tariff profits are going to pay down the national debt, or so we're told. So here's my question. What's the point in paying down the debt for the next 10 years, if it's going to take 10 years to pay down the national debt with the tariffs, when for the next 10 years we're going to have to pay 20% more on goods and services? Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Now let's read this. People are literally getting tariff bills. Just got my first tariff bill. People are sharing how the Trump tax is showing up in their lives. Unbelievable. The tariffs have brought in $88 billion. Oh, of course they've brought in $88 billion because the Charlie Kirk was shot 88 days after Trump's birthday, with $23 billion of that coming in just August alone. Despite Trump's repeated claims that other countries will eat the cost of the tariffs, tariffs are ultimately charged to the importers in the U.S., and companies are expected to pass these costs to the consumers. Consumers like the Redditor who posted the screenshots below are on the hook for paying the tariffs and processing fees. Wow. So I'm not going to go through all these, but I'll put a link to that story. Now, who do the tariffs benefit? Well, of course, they benefit large corporations who get a better deal on the trade. They benefit more government spending because the government's getting more money into the coffers. But how is that helping the hundreds of millions of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck? It's absolutely not. Now, I suppose you could argue that in the long run, this means our Social Security will be more secure. It'll be solvent. But will it really? Do you really trust these people to not just overspend the tariff savings, thinking, oh, we got all this extra money? Do you really trust these people not to put a Democrat in office next time? And then they're, oh, we got all this extra tariff money. Let's do more programs. Do you really trust these people? Shouldn't we be getting some of this money back to make ourselves whole? It's our tax money, right? It's not like we're getting a check, a free check. It's our money. So, this is crazy, you guys. This is absolutely insane. So the tariffs are making trade more equitable for the billionaires, but it's not being passed down to us. We're being taxed. We are being taxed. Now let's go back in here. Now I'm sure that you guys will be popping off to when this update happens with the scrooter. But I don't even know if I'm going to believe whatever patsy they show us. Why don't the patsies ever get to talk? Why don't you ever hear the patsy say, like, bro, I didn't do anything? It's like they're muzzled or drugged or not allowed to talk or whatever. They just go along with it. So we'll see what they say. I think the guy was Mossad, but who knows what they're going to try to say. All right, I'm in the chat, you guys, for a bit to finish up the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging in there with all this as we try to make sense of it. Lee Harvey spoke a few, says Rick. Thanks. Robots. And now, of course, nobody's talking about Epstein anymore. See the problem here? Who stood to benefit from this happening with Charlie Kirk? Well, who stands to benefit is the technocracy, which, of course, I don't know if you knew this, but the origins of a lot of the technocracy is the country that shall not be named. They're the ones that advanced a lot of this surveillance state because of their, conflict with their neighbor. Who else stands to benefit? Well, Trump, because now everybody's focused. They're all galvanized now. The right is galvanized. They've forgotten all about the stain and the victims who are supposed to be compiling a list. Let's check in on the victims. See where the list is. We hadn't heard from them in a week last time we checked. Why isn't the mainstream news covering this? Shouldn't they be on this? Where are we at with the list? Nope, here we are a week ago. Still compiling the list. They've been completely overshadowed by all of this. And now everybody's against the left, who Trump has conveniently pigeonholed the victims into the left as well. You see the problem here? Who stands to gain from what happened? Just ask that question. Whether you think it's real or not, it doesn't really matter. It's real to a lot of people, to most people. And so therefore, who stands to gain from what happened? All right, I'm in the chat. Yep, everyone's busy planning candlelight vigils. Think of the irony. You don't feel bad. They don't feel bad for a 12-year-old child that was trafficked by billionaires. Nobody's raising the flag at half-mast for that. Daughters of people, of real people, the innocent children. Oh, but all the gloves are off for Charlie Kirk. Now, look, I'm not saying they shouldn't be off, but you've got to... Why could Trump not say one word positive to the victims? Like, that's a terrible thing that happened to a child. That's all he had to say. But he won't say a word of condolence to them. But now all of a sudden we're going to bend over backwards. We're going to change everything for Charlie Kirk. And I believe it's insincere, of course, because I think my belief is that he had something to do with it. In the country that shall not be named. As with Epstein. I believe he had something to do with that too. So, all right. Yeah, nobody's talking about Diddy anymore. Nobody. Wow. Just wow. All right. Yes, the fruits are coming out. Deadly wound, says Scottish lad. Yeah, possibly. Okay. All right. Yep, they are still stoking the fire. Yes, today's news conference will be controlled opposition to squash the discord, probably, Marcy. I agree with that. Nobody talks about the laptop anymore. Yes. I did not see a vest. I know there are some theories that he was wearing a vest and it ricocheted, but that could have been just a cover story to hide the trajectory of the bullet, right? You got to think these people are into 5D chess. They're going to float these ideas. When I looked at various images of him from different angles, pretty high resolution. I don't know if they're still on the internet. In the moments leading up when he was under the tent, and I could literally see his chest muscles through the shirt. And if you could see a person's chest muscles through the shirt, then they're not wearing a vest. So if people are claiming he was, and that's the reason why the trajectory of the bullet was weird, that sounds to me like a cover story. Sounds like, oh, the towers fell due to intense pressure and heat, and it was so hot that it weakened the steel beams, causing them to fall within their own footprint. Literally 20 minutes after it happened, some guy had this cover story, some quote unquote random guy on the street. So you got to think past these people. I did not see any bulkiness of a vest. Vests are very thick. You can tell when someone's wearing a bulletproof vest. So I would have to call that on its face probably misinformation to hide the trajectory of the bullet. because they know they can't hide all of the footage that people are collecting, on their cameras. I can imagine right now someone's got the footage from the other side and they're trying to upload it to their TikTok and it's getting like banned, right? And they're screaming from the rooftops, but they have no influence. They have no influence. They have no relevance. And this is the insidious nature of social media, that the people who matter the most, who should have most of the influence to share the truth, are hidden by the algorithms. And only the chosen people who they can control are allowed to speak. And there should be laws against that, because that is not organic. But yet this is where we are on social media. Now, we kind of started to find a way around it because we're relentless. We go live every single day, not because I need to be on here every day. So there's consistency so that we call out the algorithms. Because look, it's a big joke now. We've been live for 5 years every single day. And the channel never grows. That's not normal. And it's the same group of people. So this calls out the algorithms. We have a 98% approval rating on all of our videos every single day. 98% of you thumbs up the video. Only 2% of you thumbs it down. That means that proves to YouTube, or should prove to them, that the message is positive, it's resonating, it's truthful, and that should make the algorithm go, wow, we should send it out to more people so that they can see the positivity of it. But that's not how the algorithms work. They pick and choose winners and losers in social media. So my heart goes out to people who have the truth in their hands and have no way to get the truth out. It's the dead internet. There are stopgaps in place to prevent true information from getting out. Hence, the other perspectives of the scruting from the other side, so we can see more of the truth about the trajectory of the bullet. Isn't it weird? You go online, you put right side of Charlie Kirk's face footage, and 0 videos show up. All we get is the front and left side. Doesn't that make anyone's head scratch? Oh, there was no people with cameras on his right side. They just all happened to not show the video online. Right? Are you starting to wake up now? I hope you are. You guys are awake, but as I always say, we're the only ones listening to each other. Yeah, it's shadow banning. So, some of you didn't even get notifications this morning. Cannon's messaged me, goes, you're not going live today? I'm like, I'm live every day, bro. He must have not got a notification. This is why we go live every day, so you don't need to get a notification. You just show up and you know I'm going to be here at the exact same time every day. It calls out the algorithms. It says, look, here's a mirror. You guys at YouTube aren't doing your job. You're suppressing channels. We see you, right? So that's how you guys support the channel, by showing up, and we're holding them accountable. Now, if I was only going live once a week or twice a week, I could see how the channel wouldn't be growing. But we go live every day, and we have the same exact group of people. So there you go. Bob knows. Yeah, you never get a notification. You just know to show up here. You could set your alarm by it, literally, and just come to the channel, because YouTube's not going to do their job. I heard the Scrooter's father turned him in. Okay. Well, yeah, obviously. See, here's what happens too. Here's one good thing about our justice system when it's actually working, is that, people are afraid. They're like, wow, I recognize that person that they're saying did this. And if I don't turn them in, then I could be harboring a fugitive, right? So they do use fear. The problem with it is that when they choose a person that they're going to tag a crime on, there's no escape, right? If it in fact it is a patsy, like if my mom saw me on video and they said I did something, my mom would probably call the police on me, Why? Because she would be like, well, I don't want to be accused of harboring, even though he's my son. I don't want to be accused of harboring him. I don't want the cops over here going, when's the last time you spoke to your son? Right? So that's kind of actually a bad thing, that the justice system can induce people to do that out of fear, because they can tag a crime on anyone and you will be found. As soon as your picture goes up, you will be found, because everybody that you know is going to see your mug plastered on the front and they're going to go, yeah, I know that guy. You know, he did have some radical views. I'll tell you a funny story to end the show today. So just before I went to, and I don't think I've ever told this story before, so this is going to be new for some of you. But just before I went to France to help do property management for my friend Mark, who you guys all know by now, we would go on Skype, and I was kind of getting to know Mark because I'd never met him before. And he's like, hey, man, you know, I've been following your channel for a while. Do you want to come to my dad's property and, you know, do some property management? He goes, you know, just give me whatever, you know, you make on YouTube. And at that time, it was like $300 a month I was making on YouTube. And I said, you sure that's going to be enough? He goes, yeah, it'll just cover the utilities. And then, you know, you can make up the rest in just working, you know, keep everything trimmed up, vacuumed, to keep the dust off everything, and just live in the house so that squatters don't come in. I said, okay, that sounds like a deal of a lifetime. Get to go live in France, and I made a best friend out of it. So anyways, as we were Skyping, my mom's like, oh, so where are you going, son? Because at the time I was living at my mom's house. And she goes, so where are you going, son? I go, well, I met this guy, Mark. He's from my YouTube channel. And at the time, my mom did not understand how social media worked. She thought that was weird. She was very suspicious. Now, of course, my mom has come to love Mark. But in the beginning, it was cold. It was a cold time of year, and we were both wearing these beanies that were kind of small. And my mom said, well, what's his address? I want to, you know, look it up. And I was like, and then she goes, son, she goes, what if this guy, she goes, why are you guys wearing these skull caps? I said, Mom, what are you talking about? I'm not wearing a skull cap. This is a beanie. It's just kind of small. She goes, well, he's wearing one too. Are you guys like Muslim extremists or something? Like maybe this guy's trying to get you into some kind of a cult. This was my own mother, you guys, who's known me since birth. I've never had a violent bone in my body. I've never been any kind of, you know, anything. What? So my mom calls the domestic terror hotline to see if this guy, my friend Mark, was on some kind of a list. So the people you love the most. Now, my mom didn't mean anything by it. She just wanted to make sure I was safe, right? She couldn't imagine that a random person on the internet would invite someone to come to their properties and give them a gift of some kind in any way, shape, or form. So that happened, and I was upset at my mom. I said, Mom, if you ruin this for me, I will never forgive you. She goes, I'm sorry, son. I just want to make sure you were safe. It just looks like, you know, it's the appearance of it. And, you know, you're online and you're talking about things that aren't normal. Now, since then, at least my mom now is awake to the point to where she at least watches Tucker Carlson, which, again, I still believe is controlled opposition. But at least she's awake to that point, right? But I'm telling you the story so that you can understand how easily anybody can be profiled and targeted. Anybody. Now, are they going to go after most people? No. But if you're online and you have any kind of following, you could become a target of these people smearing you with false information. Okay. Now, you guys probably don't have much to worry about, those of you that don't have huge YouTube channels. So I don't want you to live in fear. And I don't live in fear either. But this is something that could happen to a person like me. And this is why I tell you, maybe it's good that our channel isn't super huge. Maybe we're right where God wants us so we can reach people so we don't become a target by the machine, by the algorithm, by the construct, or whatever you want to call it, the controllers, because they have us tucked away in a little corner of the truth community. And maybe that's where we need to be for the safety of me and others. But I'm never going to stop speaking out, ever. Never. Because whatever happens, my prize is in heaven. All of this is nothing. So, but anyway, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that story. All I could do was laugh. I go, Mom, this is not a skull cap. And I said, Mom, and you better stop telling people that it is, because people will believe this nonsense. So I could just see it now. My mom on the news. Yeah, he met this guy and I think they were part of a cult and they were wearing these strange skull caps. And, I just knew something was wrong because nobody invites someone from overseas to property manage for them for almost free. Oh, my gosh. Wow. Yes, moms care, but she was programmed. See, that's the insidious nature of what the controllers do. They program people for that kind of behavior. The fact that there's a terror watch hotline, the fact that they have a profile of what that person might look like. Oh, anybody. Remember all those white Muslims that we were shown over the years? Anybody can be radicalized. Remember all that? That's why she did it. And this is what they look like. Look at this white guy. He was normal before. And then look, he grew a beard. Gosh, if I was wearing a beard, then it would have been a slam dunk. Mom probably would have called Homeland Security on me. For the record, I am a Christian. Wow. And I'm not even a radical Christian. I am a peace-loving, I don't even believe in showing up to protests, okay? This is a spiritual battle. This is about opening people's minds to what's really happening in our country. Yeah, remember the white Muslims? Remember that? All I could do was laugh because you knew that those were just plants. Those were just CIA people posing, going, look, it could be a white guy. Okay, anyway. What else, you guys? Sounds like we have the same mom, says Heather. Yeah. And they, bless their heart, they're just programmed. They buy the program. Now, back then, my mom thought I was crazy. But now, like I said, she sends me Tucker Carlson links all the time. I'm like, Mom, and I can't even explain it to her. I'm just glad that she's at least awake to that point, I'm like, okay, she's starting to understand, but she still likes Trump. My mom went from Obama. Here's the progression. She went from Obama and she was like, we have a black president. I'm like, oh, Mom, I just scratching my head. Mom. She's like, son, you remind me of him. I'm like, what do you mean? And then she was like, then she got on the Trump train. Everybody comes after Trump because they say he doesn't need the money. He didn't even take a salary. Well, Bette Midler didn't take a salary either in Germany. Yahtzee. They don't need to. They're making money hand over fist with their own policies that enrich themselves. The NFT trading cards, the crypto push, and all this. And I was like, Mom, you still don't get it. She's like, have you heard of Tucker Carlson? I'm like, yes, Mom, I've heard of him. I guess that's better than nothing. Oh my gosh. Better than nothing. Yes, she's watching way too much TV. My mom's 76 years old. So yeah, that's all she does is watch TV. Casey, can I sell Into the Stars gold caps on my channel, says Marcy. That's pretty good. I said, Mom, you still don't get it. It's the right-left paradigm. Both sides are working together. No, they're not. Trump wants to do this. He wants to do that. I'm sick of all these illegals. Every time I go to Costco, they're everywhere. I'm like, Mom. So, but like I said, bless her heart. She's trying to wake up. So, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to get the older ones off of the TV, the programming. I'm like, Mom, you see this little red bracelet around Tucker Carlson's wrist? That means something. Oh, that's just a red bracelet. Anyway. All right. I love you guys. You guys are starting to pop off of here. So I'm going to pop off here too. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll likely see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully YouTube gets its problems fixed. Tired of the technical issues. And I love each and every one of you. Hang in there. I know you're fatigued by all this, but if we don't search for the truth, we're just going to get swept up in the drama, aren't we? We're just going to get swept up. We're not going to know where the foundation of all this is or where it's headed or why they're doing these things. And you're just going to feel helpless and alone and scared unless we keep looking for the truth of all this. And of course, believe in Jesus Christ. He is the key to all truth. He is the one. I love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. Much love.